I'm your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. We have a very serious discussion today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am so glad to speak to you, and I want to share a series of lectures as continuations of the discussion I had with my wife. My wife and I did a video on cooperatives, and people have been asking questions, and I want to continue about cooperatives, but I want to give a historical perspective about cooperatives and their contribution to global sustainable economic development, so that you can understand what we are discussing. And it will be, I think I'll do it in 2 parts or 3 parts, but please subscribe to this channel, press the notification button, always share with others, and some of you have requested to be added to the Dr. Apoki mentorship group, so you'll listen carefully now. Get ready to take the number down, +234 70 52 13 67 63 is my WhatsApp group. I want to thank the couple that bought these materials, these clothing. I was thinking of having simple things to wear to do videos, and somebody from Abuja bought 5 different jerseys separate from this one, and a couple, in fact the husband to my daughter, my son-in-law, and my daughter bought these ones for me, and I've been wearing them, and I feel very relaxed, I feel very young, and I feel very excited to be able to do these videos with this clothing. I don't like very cumbersome clothing. So we're going to talk about cooperatives, and I want you to pay attention. You can also go to my online bookstore, petrapublications.com, and get our materials. So we're going to talk about cooperatives. Let me sit down so that I can be more comfortable. I just wanted to to advertise my new dress and to also appreciate those who bought them for me. So we're going to talk about cooperatives. There is an international cooperative alliance, an international cooperative alliance. That is, cooperatives are international organizations. In fact, July 1st, 2023 is International Cooperative Day, and the theme of their international conference that will be done online is Cooperatives for Sustainable Development. Cooperatives for Sustainable Development. By the grace of God, I've been a resource person to several cooperatives in Nigeria, in Delta State, and in Uweli local government areas, the Uweli North, Uweli South in particular. Recently, I was in a small town called Ewu, Urobo Ewu, to speak to farmers. We are too interested in entertainment in Nigeria without thinking about how to create wealth and develop Nigeria. Bangladesh crawled out of poverty and left Nigeria behind because of the effect of cooperatives and their garment industry and good leadership. India The Grameen Bank, started by Muhammad Yunus, is one of the biggest cooperatives, banks, bigger than First Bank and one other bank joined together. And he won the Nobel Peace Prize. So take these things very seriously. We as Africans can't just be working in the diaspora, work. And when we have crisis, we don't have a financial buffer. Somebody called me a few days back. They needed money for treatment. The whole family, no resources. The church that he belongs to cannot contribute. But we can have financial buffers in cooperatives. So, the International Cooperative Alliance, which is the global umbrella body for cooperatives, started in 1897. 1897. And they are going to be having their 101st international conference in Donostia in Spain. So they've been having international conferences for 101 years. So if you are just learning about cooperatives, you are 101 years behind in the global arena. Ironically, there are so many educated people, so many travel people who don't know anything about cooperatives. That's why you must pay attention and listen carefully. Now, it is one of the oldest organizations in the world, the International Cooperative Alliance, one of the oldest organizations in the world. It has 1 billion cooperative members. 1 billion cooperative members. As at the last count, when I can remember, the population of the world is just about 8-point-something billion. So 1 billion human beings belong to cooperatives. And they are spread all over the planet of the earth. There are about 30 million cooperatives in the world. 30 million cooperatives in the world. And they come from 107 countries. And there are 310 umbrella organizations. Cooperatives operate in a certain way. You have the local cooperative that you belong to. Then they have a mother cooperative for an area. Then you now have a cooperative, coordinating cooperative in the states. And then they have national bodies. And then they join international bodies. So, cooperatives partake in several ventures. Agriculture, that is, they have farms. Banking, they have microfinance banks. They have banks. They have banks, microfinance banks. They have consumer services, that is to say, they can buy products in bulk, like the Delta State University Workers Cooperative Association. I went to speak to them. They have a hall, that is an event center. They also have a warehouse where they buy things in bulk and sell to their members. And in some cases, as we will see later, they sell to the general public at a reduced cost. And then they make profit. They are into fisheries. We have cooperative fish farms in Ekpan, in Delta State, in Uvia local government areas. We have the cooperative pig farm in Ogun State, with one of the biggest pig farms in Africa. They are into health, have hospitals, they have different things. They are into housing. You see, people will buy land, then give loans to their members to build houses, prototype houses, in such estates that they own. They also build houses and rent out. They are into schools. I know a cooperative that owns a school in this town. They are into industries, block molding industries, different industries owned by cooperatives. And they have services that they render. So cooperatives are not just where you just put money, because people started sending me messages. The primary interest was just how to put money and make money. That's not the way cooperatives are designed for. Cooperatives are designed in such a way that you can become a part owner of a big business that only you cannot establish with good management. So if you have a microfinance bank owned by a cooperative, you indirectly own a bank. If you have a hotel, I saw hotels owned by the Kenyan Union of Teachers, KUT. In different parts of Kenya, I saw one on the way to Busia K. So the Kenyan Union of Teachers now own a hotel chain. Apart from their salaries and pensions, they run hotels and they are keen into the tourism industry in Kenya. So they are not just teachers that go on strike. They have investments in hotels and they are keen into the tourism industry. Cooperative started in 1844. So just imagine how long. The first cooperative was established by 28 artisans who worked in cotton mills in Rochdale. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well. Rochdale. Either Rochdale or Rockdale. I don't know how those names are pronounced. In the United Kingdom. And they were poorly paid, and things were expensive relative to their income. So they formed the Rockdale Equitable Pioneer Society that was later known as Rockdale or Rochdale Pioneers. And so what they did was that they bought commodities, I remember butter, sugar, and whatever. They bought in bulk and started selling to their members at small prices, just little profit margin, operational profit margin. And these poorly paid people could now have access to commodities because they pooled their resources together. Remember, I spoke on the philosophy of the ant. One shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase 10,000. And that the ants pool their resources together and build a formidable structure. And they have fungal gardens, which act as retirement benefits or winter benefits, where they can have polysaccharides to eat during winter. So these individuals now form these cooperatives from where they could get things to buy at cheaper prices and could now live a relatively comfortable life. Cooperatives in Nigeria started in 1907. 1907. 400 cocoa farmers came together to start the cooperative. They were selling cocoa, producing cocoa, but they could not determine the prices. They needed to be able to come together to discuss with government, to discuss with UAC or Royal Niger Company then, and maybe conditions of service and whatever affected their business. So they came together. The British government tried to discourage them. But from 1907 to 1926, they were still persistent. That's 19 years. Cooperatives are not cash and carry thing. We have cooperatives in this town that are close to 40 years old. They've been there. Cooperatives grow with consistency. Any person that is coming to a cooperative just to take loan usually does not last. It's a selfish approach. It's a parasitic approach. You join a cooperative to build a legacy, to build a future, something that will still be there after you've departed. The good thing is that parents are now bringing their children to join cooperatives. Some, like as my wife said, from the diaspora and within Nigeria. My granddaughter is in a cooperative. My wife is the president of the cooperative. My daughter is in another cooperative. She's also in this cooperative. My son is in a cooperative. And the president of that cooperative has his children in the cooperative. So, if we who started a cooperative live old and we pass on, our shares are still there. Our children can start running those shares and getting dividends or fuse our shares with their own. So that's the way it is. So, the father of cooperatives in Nigeria is said to be Chief Akikpene Obisheson, who started a cooperative in 1937, registered a cooperative in 1937. Chief Akikpene Obisheson registered a cooperative in 1937. And this is 2023. And you are not a member of a cooperative or you are not operating one. So you are behind schedule. And they started as the one they started two cooperatives in Nigeria, one in Abeokuta, one in Ibadan. The one in Ibadan was the Agege Planters Union, Cocoa Planters Union. And they had one in Egba Farmers Union in Abeokuta. So, cooperatives contribute a lot to the world, but I will concentrate on their contribution to Nigeria. The biggest cooperative in Nigeria, ironically, get sense. The biggest cooperative in Nigeria is the Nigeria Police Cooperative Society Limited. Imagine say policemen get sense for Nigeria, knowing that they are not well paid as at that time, and I suspect even now, knowing that they don't have any insurance policy, knowing that if anything happens to them, their wives and their children may suffer, they now formed Nigeria Police Cooperative Society. It is the biggest in Nigeria and the biggest in Africa. Can you imagine? Biggest in Africa. Let me quickly say this, that these churches, I find something. I'm a pastor. People will ask, are you not a pastor? I don't pastor a church, but I'm a Christian and I'm an ordained clergyman. Sometimes I think that we don't reason well with Christians. Imagine having, let me use 1,000 members. 1,000 members that contribute 1,000 naira monthly to a cooperative. 1,000 naira monthly is 1 million. Times a year is 12 million. Times 10 years is 120 million minus interest, dividends, transactions, and all that. Just imagine. We just go to church, give offerings, pay tithe, do this. Any problem we have, we must raise funds. No. I recently stimulated the establishment of a cooperative by my friend's church in Port Harcourt. And they are growing. If we are going to live in heaven together, we should start pulling our money together here and investing together. After all, we come to church as business people. The church is not a business, but we come as businessmen. If we can't manage a cooperative, then something is wrong with our brains and we should stop shouting amen. A church called me from Qatar, and I know they will watch this video. I did a video for them on finances, and I encourage them to start a cooperative. They have started a cooperative in Qatar. I was discussing with somebody from the UK. I see Nigerians will gather and listen to comedians. No problem. If I wanted to be a comedian, I would have been a multi-millionaire. I'm stupidly funny. I'm a very funny human being. In the University of Ibadan, I could make people start laughing in the Trenchard Hall. I was a comedian, even at FGC Warri. I'm just a naturally funny person. But Nigerians will gather, buy tables for so amount of money just to laugh. But they will never gather together for an economic summit, for an investment summit, how they will maximize their stay in the diaspora and maximize their investments in Nigeria. After this post, I'm going to do a post on how to invest in Nigeria and be security conscious as somebody living in the diaspora. I pray somebody will remind me to do that. You can come to Nigeria, invest from the diaspora, and no person will know that you are investing. No, I have friends that have invested. I have people who bought properties through me. Nobody knows them. Me, I don't even know some of them. So, Nigerian Police Cooperative Society is the oldest, is the biggest cooperative in Africa. Police Officers' Wives Association. They have a cooperative. They have shopping plazas. One is before DSC roundabout, as you are coming from the Petroleum Training Institute Junction, PTI. They have big shopping plaza there. And they have in several places. Police Officers' Wives Association. So what are you thinking about? What are you doing? You are a big church like Redeemed. Why can't you start Pastors' Wives Association, Cooperative Society of Redeemed Christian Church of God? You know how much you will have? You know how much you will save? You know how much you will be taking home every year for dividends? Living Faith Pastors' Wives Association, Cooperative Society. Christ Apostolic Church Pastors' Wives Association, Cooperative Society. The Church of God Mission, Assemblies of God Pastors' Wives. When I see pastors die and where they go to bury them, I feel very ashamed, feel very angry. We have a Pastors' Cooperative Society here in Ugili. We have another cooperative society run by Christians, El Shaddai Cooperative Society. And it has helped them. The Pastors' Cooperative Society has helped pastors to build churches. So we should start thinking about cooperatives as Christians. Think about cooperatives as Christians. So, in Nigeria, cooperatives contribute 1.2 trillion. Hear me well. 1.2 trillion naira to the GDP of Nigeria. 1.2 trillion naira. I know cooperatives. I know one cooperative that I went to speak to. They consulted me and I spoke to their members in Port Harcourt. Their asset base is more than $1 billion. In fact, they are begging the members to take loans. They are begging the members to take loans. So we can form big cooperatives. If you are listening to me now, you belong to all these denominations I just mentioned. Living Faith, Christ Apostolic Church, CAC, Cherubim and Seraphim, Redeemed Christian Church of God Mission. You deeper life. The world is not going to end soon. This rapture. The white man that brought Christianity to you is thinking of going to live in the moon. Rapture. You are living like refugees. You are not holier than I am. If the rapture takes place today, I will go. I'm not a sinner. But let's not live like refugees. What's the name of this, my friend? Jeremiah was telling the people they were going to take them into captivity. He bought land and collected receipt. Abraham's wife died. He was crying. He bought land. That land is Hebron. Till today, it is there. So let's start thinking, in as we live righteously, as if Christ will come for us today. And if Christ tarries, the undertaker may not tarry. You can die at any time, and the undertaker will come and carry you. That on its own should make you prepare in such a way that if you depart today, not by rapture, your children and your wife will not suffer. Also, you cannot trust this body. Illnesses can come. Something can happen that will necessitate your needing money and your family taking care of you. I want to quickly say that the International Cooperative Alliance survived the First World War and the Second World War. They made sure they were politically neutral, and it did not bring a division between the nationalities that are in that association. So cooperatives can be enduring. Now, in Nigeria, I said they contribute 1.2 trillion. 1.2 trillion to the GDP. Are you part of that 1.2 trillion? You are not part of it. I am part of it. You are left out of 1.2 trillion. And that's according to Ernest Ozo in November 2021, he wrote. He wrote that 600,000 people are directly employed through cooperatives. Through cooperative farm, cooperative water factory, cooperative bakery, cooperative anything. So, and they give out, they have a share capital of 1 trillion. 1 trillion. And there are 300,000 cooperatives in this country. 300,000 cooperatives in this country. Are you part of them? Are you part of the 30 million Nigerians that belong to cooperatives? 30 million Nigerians that belong to cooperatives. It is true that before the advent of registered cooperatives, people cooperated. They cooperated by, we will come together, farm for you this day, then farm for you another day, farm for another person the next day. They also did ususu. They contributed money, and somebody would take turn by turn by turn. But people couldn't run to their ususu in an emergency. And so if they had financial needs, they will need to wait until it is their turn. And sometimes, ususu people have a way of running away towards December. Just abscond. One of them burst a hole through the wall of his building and said that the ususu money was stolen. You don't keep ususu money in the house. Neither do you keep cooperative money in the house. So, the point I'm trying to make is that there have been cooperatives, or there has been cooperation in Africa, in Nigeria, before the registered cooperative by Chief Akinpene Obisheson in 1937. Now, cooperatives get in excess, they get a turnover or money in excess of 950 billion naira from services, from shares, from their capital and whatever. And they give out 1 trillion naira in loans. Are you hearing these sums? Are you part of it? We only hear the number of Nigerians living below the poverty line. We're not hearing these figures. So cooperatives are silent giants, silent contributors to the economy. And you can be in a cooperative. I know a cooperative in this town. Every person there is a millionaire. So cooperatives are the easiest ways to create millionaires. When I said I wanted to raise 1 million African entrepreneurs and 1 million African millionaires, one over Sabi Christian that likes to quote scriptures anyhow. And he's a very rich man, very successful man, very rich man. That it is the lust of money, blah, blah, blah. Why do we want to celebrate poverty with scriptures in Africa? And why do we want to deceive people? Deceive people by making them think that wealth must necessarily be sinful and mammonic. No, you can earn money, own money, and still live a righteous life. So, that I live a simple life does not mean I can't drive a good car. Does not mean I should not live in this house. I have solar energy here, I have comfort here. I don't need to live poor to prove that I'm a simple person. So, how do cooperatives operate? That would be, okay, let me just say that because of time. How do cooperatives operate? Cooperatives are registered by government. They are recognized by law. They are regulated by rules and statutes, rules and regulations. Cooperatives must have a constitution. The constitution, however, is subservient to the laws of the land and the acts or edicts regulating cooperatives. So, cooperatives have democratically elected executives. And you are a co-owner of the cooperative. There is a fixed minimal amount of contribution that you make every month. Fixed. Can be 10,000 naira every month. But you can contribute more. People like us, we contribute more because we want a big asset base so that when they share dividends at the end of the year, they will share proportionately. And so the tendency for me to get more. When some people just heard that people get 6 million naira dividends in cooperative, it is based on their contributions. How much shares and savings and trips they have there. And some of them have what is called debenture stocks that we might discuss later. So you don't just make dividends in cooperative because you join. It is by how much you contribute and how effectively that cooperative is run. So ideally, you are expected to attend every cooperative meeting. I know a cooperative in town, they fine you up to 10,000 naira if you go late. They fine you if your phone rings during the meeting. They fine you if you don't pay your monthly contribution. Something is deducted from you. So, cooperatives are run strictly according to the rules, firmly, ruthlessly, like as I said in one of my videos, that when there are times when being nice is not nice, and you need to be ruthless when taking some decisions. You are handling people's money. And I have known people who have gone to jail because they collected money to form a cooperative, and the cooperative collapsed. Very nice young man, a pastor. I think he's 20 years in jail. So you can't mismanage people's money. So cooperatives must have a bank account. Now somebody in the diaspora is asking in my mind that what of them that are in the diaspora? There are exceptions to the rules for attendance. I belong to a cooperative or cooperatives, I don't attend their meetings because I don't reason normally. My brain is not very correct. I might say something that will provoke people. So my wife represents me. You can send a representative to some cooperatives with a note. And the way it is today, because of our people in the diaspora wanting to join cooperatives, you can attend via Zoom. You can remit your money through transfers. There are some cooperatives, they now have a website where you can know your contributions and see records of your contribution, and where you can contribute monthly online. They are upgrading. A cooperative must have a bank account, usually in more than one bank, and usually in well-established banks. Like in Nigeria, First Bank, UBA, and maybe one other bank. I don't want to advertise banks, but established banks. The next thing is that, like as I said, cooperatives have an executive, a president, vice president, you have treasurer, maybe assistant treasurer, secretary, financial secretary, assistant financial secretary, ex-official members, and all that. It must be run strictly by the rules. Cooperatives fail because of compromise and connivance. Compromise and connivance. So when you are electing executives, make sure you elect people who have substance, people who have character, who have capacity, who have collateral. Assuming the monies get lost, you can seize my school or seize this building. Don't just elect somebody who is jobless, who is available. No. Elect people who have capacity, capital, cash, character, and collateral. People you can hold responsible. Then loans are given out with two members acting as collaterals, as guarantors. That's the right word, as guarantors. If I have 100,000 naira, I'm entitled to a loan of 300,000 naira after a period of usually 6 months. Not that you will just come there and just deposit 100,000 naira. Then you can get a loan of 300,000 the next week. No, that's money laundering. You must have contributed over a period of 6 months in some cooperatives. And then whoever is guaranteeing you should have 100,000 naira each. That's 1/3 of what you want to take. So there are 200,000 naira plus your 100,000 naira brings the 300,000 naira. If you don't pay, they will deduct that money from their monies. They might not take it in bulk. They might be taking it piecemeal, but they will pay. And then your 100,000 naira there will be lost. The cooperative will seize it. So, it must be run strictly. Loans that are usually greater than these kind of loans will require collaterals. But let it be known that the interest, if it is 10%, that is the interest rate in that cooperative, 30,000 naira will be deducted ab initio at source. So what will come to you is 270,000 naira. So the cooperative makes 30,000 naira. That's where you will share dividends from later. You must have proper documentation and record keeping so that you will know who is owing, what the person took, what he has there, proper documentation. and you must have a lawyer who provides legal oversight for your cooperatives. Loans exceeding certain amounts must have real estate as collaterals. These real estates must be without encumbrances. Don't go and accept a collateral in the man's community. Come to a frontier to take a land from me as collateral. What if the villagers fight you? What if the family people fight you? It must be in a place that is without encumbrance. The documents must be documents that are genuine. You must have easy access to that property so that if the person does not pay, the cooperative can take it, use it to do whatever they want to do, or sell it. So, loans are usually for 10 months period, as I said. You can reloan the balance, assuming you took 300,000 and you were able to pay only 200,000. You will reloan that 100,000 at a certain percentage, sometimes less than the original 10%. You're asking why you have already paid. No. You are reloaning this money because the cooperative is not going to be adding interest on top of your loan. You will reloan it and then you will pay that interest once and then repay the money. So, at the end of the year or your financial year, during the annual general meeting, the total sums of money realized will be shared in proportion to what you have contributed to the cooperative. Sometimes elections will be done, and if the executive arm of the cooperative has done well, they are usually re-elected. If somebody dies, his place will be taken over by another. If somebody is incapacitated, somebody can replace him. If somebody resigns, I know a man who started one of the oldest cooperatives in town here, very rich cooperative. It got to a point, he resigned and they handed over to somebody else. I wish he could come back now. Now elections are done during the annual general meeting, and the cooperative officer will be there to provide oversight. The books are open, and a copy of the assets, liabilities, transactions, loans, dividends, a copy is handed over to each member. Sometimes you have entertainment, sometimes you have gifts that are given to you by the cooperative. It's done annually, but sometimes they might not share dividends in particular years if things do not go too well, or they bought a property that is going to yield revenue to them in the next year. I remain your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. You can send your questions to me on +234 7052136763. The questions should be limited to this discussion. And if you send me your number and that WhatsApp number I just quoted, we can add you to our mentoring group. Please subscribe to this channel, share to as many people as possible, and contribute to this channel. It takes me time, takes me money, takes me effort. I've spoken for 44 minutes now. If I do this in some places, it's $250,000 naira. I did this somewhere, they paid me $500,000 naira for 30 minutes. So I'm spending my energy, my time to make your lives better. Also contributes to the development of this channel. We need so many things. We need different equipment. We need whatever. God bless you. And you can run these seminars in your cities. You can run these seminars in your countries. We'll come there 2-3 days, we are done, and I move because I have so much to do. I remain your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki.